Deadly Class premiered on January 16th, 2019 on the SYFY network. The show only lasted one season, and what a loss that was. The casting was pretty decent. I'd say the most easily recognizable actors would be Benedict Wong as Master Lin and Laura Condor as Saya Kuroki. Benedict Wong having an extensive acting career, but best known as Wong in Doctor Strange. Is that name sharing a coincidence? And as for Laura Condor, at the time she was coming out of her popular Netflix film To All the Boys I Loved Before. The Russo brothers were credited as executive producers of the show, and if the name sounds familiar, that's no surprise because they were also directors of both Avengers Infinity Wars and Avengers Endgame. This video, however, is only covering the TV show as it was based off the serial comic with the same name. The story is set in the 1980s. It follows Marcus, an orphan, after he receives an invitation to attend King's Dominion, a school for assassins. He is recruited by Master Lin after he is accused of setting his previous boys' home on fire and killing several of the residents. The students that assist Master Lin in Marcus's recruitment are a few of the major characters we also followed throughout the season: Saya, Maria, Billy, and Willie. So think Assassination Classroom, but without the unifying target. Spoilers ahead and mature content warning for anyone who hasn't seen the series. So Marcus, played by Benjamin Wadsworth, is left homeless after his parents are crushed by a suicidal bridge jumper. We follow his struggles as he tries to integrate into the hostile environment that is King's Dominion. To give some context, King's Dominion goes by both prison and class rules. Everyone is divided by race and class. The families or groups with the most influence, wealth, or network are at the top. A few of the social cliques are Yakuza families, Nazis, gangbangers, the cartel. But Marcus, being an orphan and mixed race, struggles to find his place and is immediately placed at the bottom of this established social hierarchy, where he is then grouped with other perceived bottom dwellers referred to as the rats. I'd say Benjamin did a pretty good job with the character. He himself has certainly been around the block a bit when it comes to roles. He has a familiar face, one that makes you wonder where you've seen him before.
Ariana, what are you doing here?
I find Marcus pretty silly at times. He naturally has a lot of anger because he feels like he's been screwed over by the world, so he's quick to jump into fights or try to antagonize anyone and everyone around him. He hates Reagan and thinks it's his fault for a lot of the problems in the world, or better yet, let's say in his world, which is 80s San Francisco, which is fair, being that the woman that landed on his parents had just had her healthcare cut due to Reagan's policies and decided to end it all. Does this story sound familiar? Back to Marcus. Well, he looks and acts like his problems. He is confrontational as hell. He's got scars. He only wears 1 or 2 sets of clothing outside of his school uniform. He does gross things sometimes. And he can be pretty selfish, which I don't blame him for given some of what he's had to deal with growing up. Like, come on, his roommate at the boys' home he previously stayed at was Chester. One thing I felt this series did incredibly well were the antagonists, and Chester was like on Trevor Phillips type of timing, maybe worse. He brutally abused Marcus, scarred his face, assaulted him, and he did a lot of the same things to animals as well, heavily indulging in bestiality of all things. Yeah, put him down, he might be worse than Trevor. It turns out he's actually the one who set the boys' home on fire, not Marcus. Marcus just disfigured his face with a needle bomb and escapes. But this series of events is the catalyst for the plot because Marcus didn't get scouted by the school and Chester goes on a hunt for him because he wants the credit for the kill. Marcus himself, really every student takes angsty teen to a whole other level. Almost every other student feels wronged by the world or society, so they're extremely aggressive, antisocial, often lash out at everyone around them. That or they've got something to prove. And I get it because they all are jaded in one way or another, and the show is embodying that rebel-like persona that was trending at the time. It's why a few of them look like they were pulled straight out of the Grease musical. Marcus himself at first feels as if he doesn't belong at the school. Unfortunately, I think he fits in just fine, not because he's a bad person, but simply because He's used to having to do what's needed to survive, and because of that, he's already crossed some moral boundaries. And Marcus' story is tragic in that regard. Along with the other rats at the school, if given the proper support, he would have been a regular teenager, probably still getting into fights here and there because that boy has no chill sometimes. I don't think there's a set name for this character type, but him and his situation sort of remind me of Denji from Chainsaw Man. Young boys who grew up with no real caretaker, homeless or unstable, doesn't really find a job or institution to take them in until their late teens. Therefore, they spend a lot of their childhood fighting for resources or whatever else, which is why they're so confrontational. They usually have a group or person to direct their anger at, but they still try not to hurt innocent people or people that they deem innocent. There's a certain sort of character that is produced with these specific circumstances, and if they don't fall completely to their environment and become some evil, malicious person, they end up looking a lot like Denji or Marcus. And of course, but even between these two, there are differences. For one, I would say Denji overall is a lot more optimistic than Marcus. Moving on to some of the other major characters, SYFY contributes a lot to recruiting Marcus to the school. She convinces him not to kill himself, gives him a welcome tour, and drops him like a hot potato immediately afterwards. You would think she got paid to bring him there, but nah, he was her assignment though. It's clear to me that SYFY wants to prove herself, but things get a bit complicated when it comes to her frustrations with Maria and her feelings for Marcus. I do find SYFY's behavior throughout the series with Marcus to be very hot and cold. Like, sis, do you want him or not? But I get it, given that she's the daughter of a Yakuza boss and he has no affiliation. She wants no association with him. Early on, she is assigned to watch Marcus, but there are moments where she nearly kisses him, has kissed him, is pulling him out of fights. And it doesn't make sense if one argues, hey, she's just using seduction to get close to him and learn his weaknesses, like Master Lin asked her to do. Because when Marcus and Maria finally get real close, she seemed like she had a problem with it. And later on, she pulls a Cassie and sleeps with him while he's dating Maria. Now, I do believe Maria snatched up Marcus before SYFY could even determine what she felt for Marcus. She can be very closed off and fickle, and I think a part of her did not want to be as attracted to Marcus as she was. In addition, she cared for Maria and thought he could help that girl with her issues. So maybe SYFY did think she missed her chance with Marcus on that front, but she could have been a little patient. Anyone could see Maria and Marcus were not going to last. In the end, it was Maria turning on SYFY that completely broke the camel's back. SYFY wanted nothing to do with the main cast of students anymore after abandoning Master Lin to help them, though I do believe she would have benefited from being less fickle. She prioritized her friends, Maria and Marcus specifically, already knowing she betrayed one of them. At that point, I say just choose Master Lin. Speaking of Maria, because I want to dive into her a little bit more before I get into the mess of a love triangle that she was in. Maria starts the series as the girlfriend of Chico, the leader of the Sotovatos gang. And she's plotting on Marcus as soon as she meets him. She wants out of her abusive relationship and Chico 6 feet under. She sees Marcus, the kid who allegedly burnt down the boys' home, and figures he's the perfect candidate to kill Chico. She basically decides she's gonna put it on him and make him fall in love. Maria is essentially the perfect honey trap. Based on her backstory, it seems that she is used to setting dudes up to be in some messed up situations. And even though the Sotovatos gang did kidnap her young and force her to play this role, that is now unfortunately how she knows how to survive. We later find out that Maria is bipolar, and when she's not taking her medication, she fluctuates from being loving to sad to sexual to enraged. So enraged to the point that she wants to kill. And this plays a role in causing a rift between some of her closest relationships. Marcus, who feels as if she's too codependent on him, and SYFY, who she tries to kill after finding out she slept with her man. But even before that point, her fluctuation in emotions lead her to not trusting SYFY out of paranoia, and I'll say a little intuition as well, because Maria, you knew what was up. Maria's erratic actions is the driver for a lot of the conflicts the characters endure outside of the main antagonist that is Chester. She had to kill Chico after he saw her and Marcus together, which ultimately started a war between her and SYFY's respective factions. All of this on top of not taking her medication led her to really struggling with maintaining her relationships and her emotions. And this is why this love triangle conflicts me. Usually when it comes to a love triangle, I can easily say who I prefer, but I don't have a leg in the game on this one. Maria also had no business being with Marcus. He quite literally could not handle all that. He actually did all the wrong things, but what can I say? As a young teenage boy in a relationship, he didn't realize that he could not provide Maria the care that she needed. And yes, early on, Marcus and SYFY did show signs of potentially starting something, but Maria swooped in and got her man. I can't fault her for that. Reasonably, I do know SYFY probably needed some time to figure out her feelings for Marcus and didn't move at the speed of light, and that's okay. But he's taken now. Little did I know that didn't even matter. Best friend or not, SYFY went for it. No honor among thieves. This is King's Dominion. The usual morals do not apply. All I can say for these ladies is that at some point, they both knew they kissed him and shared an interest in him. Something was going to have to give. Very beautiful actress. She did a pretty good job portraying Maria's manic episodes. Little did I know she's actually somewhat known from being in several South American telenovelas and recently played the engineer in Superman 2025. So she was previously on a show produced by two major Marvel Cinematic Universe directors, and now we're going to see her possibly reprise a role in the DC Cinematic Universe. I swear the world is just one big circle. Moving on to Willie. Oh, Willie. It's not surprising that him and Marcus get along so well because neither one of them really belonged at King's Dominion. Both got pinned with crimes they did not do and did not intentionally kill anyone before coming to the school. The difference being that Willie is a legacy student, so he leans more into the act, given that this is the lifestyle he was born into. Based off some information from the comics, Willie's a bit of a foil to SYFY in this regard. Both are legacy students, so while SYFY's father did not want her to attend King's Dominion, Willie's mother forced him to do so. SYFY is violent and will kill, while Willie is a pacifist. It would have been nice to see what became of Willie if the show didn't end, because there's no way he could keep faking his lifestyle without ending up dead or escaping it and cutting off everyone he knows. You cannot ask Willie to kill someone. He'll fail every time. His pacifism begins to borderline read as cowardice because even when his life or the life of those he loves is in danger, he does nothing. It reminds me a little bit of Gohan's situation in Dragon Ball, at least in regards to being a non-fighter among fighters. Yes, Willie does have the trauma of accidentally shooting his father when trying to save him from several gang members, so he doesn't want to kill and he doesn't like guns. Well, when that man was getting attacked at the gas station, he didn't at least call the police. When Chico was attacking him and his friends, he did not try and take the gun, he didn't try and tackle Chico, shield anybody, anything. But he's certainly not afraid to hold a gun when he's faking it. I don't think Willie even wants to see a fist flying in his direction. Yet he claims there are causes he's willing to die for. I don't believe it. Shifting over to the quote-unquote rats, which were other students deemed social outcasts at King's Dominion. First, we have Billy, who also helps in the recruitment of Marcus. He's a bit of a class clown who keeps a positive, upbeat attitude. His backstory consists of having a father who is a corrupt cop, and Billy ultimately ends up getting sent to King's Dominion to be trained for the mob his father owes money to. This character has a lot of heart, and therefore is able to make friends easily with some of the others, well, as easily as one can in a school for assassins. So much so that his friends come with him to Las Vegas to help him kill his abusive father. He's one of those characters who may often be the butt of a joke, so it was nice seeing the other characters try and build up his confidence when he shows a strong interest in Petra, but she doesn't really return much of the interest, at least at first. The path Billy and Petra take in their relationship / friendship is a checkered one. But before I explore that, I want to talk about Lex. Lex is the British punk rocker of the group of rats. In a way, he's also very positive, but not quite as friendly as Billy. He likes to annoy people and will be quick to tell you to get out his face if you try and stop him. Even though we don't get to see much of this character, overall the actor Jack Gillett does a phenomenal job portraying this grandiose personality of Lex's. By the end of the season, he is unfortunately dead, spoiler, but I wanted to give some background on him before delving into the polyamorous relationship that is slightly touched on between him, Billy, and Petra. So, throughout the season, Billy and Lex both find themselves vying for Petra's attention until she eventually decides that she'll take both of them. Being a teenager and watching this show, this was my first time seeing a polyamorous relationship even attempted in a TV series. Though I don't think I can even call it that, given that this was more of an attempted threesome arranged by Petra. But it was a pleasant surprise seeing the love triangle that was set up almost in this way. Unfortunately, these three together did not last long at all. Petra called off the threesome and Lex dies in the finale. So even if the show continued, this relationship dynamic wasn't going to be explored any further. And after the failed attempted threesome, the show continued to mainly focus on Petra's relationship with Billy. It's just a bit disappointing. A lot of Petra's plot lines in the season do involve her relationships with some of the guys at the school. She sleeps with a legacy student, Victor, just to avoid Billy's confession to her. Victor later sets her up to be embarrassed at the school dance. She then goes back and forth between Billy and Lex, the fellow rats who have always been there for her. I suppose they're all each other hats at the school, so might as well, I guess. When she recalls her backstory, she explains how her father was basically a cross between Nature Boy and Jim Jones. He ran a death cult that heavily featured strange rituals and orgies. Her mother didn't quite agree with his methods, and Petra ends up at King's Dominion after her father kills her mother. And with a backstory like this one, it's easy to see why she goes about her intimate relationships the way she does. Since there were orgies in every corner of her home, she at least thought she was comfortable with the idea of engaging in one herself. But just like most of the other students, she's avoidant and backed out after feeling the slightest bit of emotion. Even if the relationship was not polyamorous, I think Petra would have benefited from having two lovers. It wasn't directly stated what her views on monogamy or marriage was, but I can imagine it's certainly skewed because of what she witnessed so early in life. So in addition to these side characters being at the bottom of the school's social hierarchy, Petra would have had to navigate having these two boys as lovers when they don't necessarily get along, all in a school for assassins. Chef's kiss. I do believe this character would have been explored a lot more had the show continued. There are a lot of places they could have taken her, especially with her being the only female member of the Rats, with a decent amount of screen time. I did really like her aesthetic though, because the pale girlies with the jet black hair and the blue or green eye color combo eat every time, I swear. Moving on to the administration, there's not much shown about the teachers. They were often behind certain punishments and the challenging, borderline deadly assignments the students had to overcome. The teachers consisted of other serial killers and assassins, some getting along with the students much better than others. And then there is Headmaster Lin, of course, who, in the show at least, is shown to have a conscience and somewhat cares about his students, in comparison to his sister Go, who is more ruthless and authoritarian. One thing the show does very well is its visual storytelling. They often use animation in combination with heavy narration to give the backstories of these characters. Animation is also used as a way to censor some of the more explicit scenes in the show. Not to mention, some of the drawings were very aesthetically pleasing. The animation sequence included in Marcus's hallucinations are a particular favorite of mine. I do have a very deep appreciation for when animation is incorporated to censor. I've seen it done a couple of times before. One, it's creative. There are many forms of animation that are underutilized or just not explored because there's been no space made for it, or the style might be old and outdated and considered not worth the money and labor. For example, there are many older animes that used a hand-drawn 2D style of animation paired with photoreal background work, and this technique has been largely faded out. And then there's the Netflix show Love, Death, and Robots, which is unique in the fact that it provides an opportunity for animators to show off different unique styles to convey a story. Whereas most forms of media are going to use a style that is commercially favorable, or at the very least, cheap. Another reason I favor this method of using animation to censor, it adds taste to the heavy topics a lot of mature media explore. So the creator of the anime, Gachi Akata, gets a lot of praise for how the retelling of Amu's backstory is framed. In the series, Amu is a girl who is sold very young to a predatory man, and when she tells her story, it is accompanied with childlike drawings that express her experience as best she could being a young girl who was trapped with this man for so long. My point is, there are many ways to allude to explicit sex or violence so that audiences can fully understand the actions and relationships between characters. Animation is just another way to do so, and Deadly Class made phenomenal use of it. Given the setting, there is naturally a lot of fight scenes, which were pretty good in my opinion. The injuries and deaths got pretty brutal, even the ones that were animated. I recall one particular moment when Marcus and Lex visibly react to an injury in the middle of a fight, and Maria versus Saya was intense. Maria won in my opinion. Didn't expect it because Saya is valedictorian and I assumed to be one of the school's best fighters. Maybe Maria won off pure rage. I don't know. The big bad of the show, Chester, you know, Marcus's evil ex-roommate, he gets the Ramsey ending, which well deserved because who knows what he did to that pup. Chico gets his throat slit, and it's pretty funny that he remains in the story afterwards because Chester keeps his head as a companion and talks to it. At least I hope that's all he did to it. And it makes sense for the fights to be so well choreographed given that the producers worked on Marvel movies, so kudos there. Some of the dialogue could be a bit cheesy because it was leaning into that rebel rock star aesthetic of the 80s, but that's okay. If you're not making a mess, what are you making? It's hard for me to make sense of the idea behind keeping Marcus at the school though, especially after Lynn found out Chester committed the very feat that got Marcus invited to King's Dominion. So why not switch them out? I have to assume that that school couldn't match Chester's freak and thought he was too uncontrollable. Outside of family ties, I suppose King's Dominion must have some sort of standard behind why they take in certain outcasts and not others. If I really want to put my tinfoil hat on, I could speculate that the rats are only there so that legacies have someone to be above. You know, like capitalism, so that they have students that they can abuse and throw to the wolves without their families coming back in retaliation. Because we saw what happened when Chico died. The whole cartel was up the admin's ass. So his father was at that school trying to find out what happened to his son. As much as I enjoyed the show, if it came out today, I probably would have dropped it, not due to any lack of interest, but after this year, I have decided to disengage with any non-historical media that heavily features characters having to coexist with Nazis or just Nazis in general. Judging by my commentary, you can probably tell what shows I've been watching recently, but between The Boys and Euphoria, I have a very low tolerance for these sort of characters being so prominent in a show now. Shout out to this actress though, because I was a bit surprised to see her as a face model in the Quarry game just a few years later. She did a good job. I ultimately believe the series got one season because many did not know about the show at all. It premiered on SYFY in 2019, and I like to assume their target audience would be, 18 to 24? Well, I was in that age group around that time, and from what I remember, the show that was being talked about the most was Riverdale. I have a theory that Deadly Class would have been a hit if it premiered on the CW instead. Hell, it would have had a better chance on Netflix maybe. It probably still would have been canceled after one season, but at least more people would have known about it. But that is it for my video today. If you like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, what you agree with, what you don't agree with. I would love to hear all opinions. Until next time, see you in the next video.